Alright, so I'm going to do something a little bit different than I usually do, and I'm going to just kind of do a tier list. This isn't going to be a tier list based on how good this is, rather just kind of how much I like the item. Now, right now, I've got about 60 hours in Lethal Company with about 15 hours in solo quota 10 practice, because I've been wanting to play the game a lot when friends aren't able to play, and I've just been like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to practice quota 10. I just had a run that hit quota 6, I think, which is my personal best right now, and it died to a very dumb thing that I'm going to get to when I get to it. But to start off with, the air horn is obviously amazing. It's very funny, but very annoying. I like it when I get the air horn, but I hate it when other people get the air horn. It is very funny. It can just do things like distract dogs. It can kind of fuck with your friends. I think it's cool. I think the air horn, and by extension the clown horn as well. I think I like the clown horn a little bit more than the air horn, because the air horn has that long, like, it's a little too long, right? Like, it overextends its own joke. Meanwhile, the air horn or the clown horn is just very quick, very nicely comedically timed. I'm just moving. I saw some extras that were scattered about, so I'm just dragging those at the end. I think the apparatus is actually really cool. It is always 80 credits, which is very, very nice. And if you decide to grab it early, then it adds a bit of extra challenge to your run, right? Because there's going to be more inside monsters, there's going to be more outside monsters, right? Earlier dogs, earlier giants. I like dealing with the dogs. I'm okay with dealing with giants. I think they're fine enough. And more worms. I hate worms, but, it's a skill issue. So I recognize that. And it's this big, cumbersome item, which, it does slow you down a lot, but it feels fairly balanced with the fact that it is always 80 credits. And that extra challenge is something that most other items just don't have. Unlike the beehive, probably the single most enjoyable item in the game for me. The beehive is just like the apparatus. It adds a little bit of extra challenge if you decide to grab it, but if you don't decide to grab it, you're losing out on a massive chunk of money. I think that banning it in quota 10 is a little bit dumb. Yes, it would make it a reset fest, but you're trivializing the part of the run that you don't really care about, right? The early part of the quota 10 run, the first, second, third quota, those are the boring ones. You want to get to the later parts as fast as possible, and that's where the actually interesting part of that run comes in. Not just, hey, we went to Assurance 4 times, now, we can go to Titan 40 times. I just like the challenge of bees. I like how you can fuck with your friends with bees, right? If you just put them right outside the ship or put them somewhere inconvenient, you can really fuck with your friends. It's funny. It's a good item. It's a very well designed item. It did start very strong and it's going to start dropping off right about here. The bell's okay. I never play Stormy because it scares me. I think it's the weather condition I like the least. It makes the game harder in a way that I don't quite like. I think that if... There's not really much else to the bell. It's decently priced. It's a single-handed item with a decent bit of weight, but it has the money to back it up, right? It's a very good item. I just don't care much for it. It's not funny. It's not fun. It's just a good item. Unlike the big bolt. I don't like the big bolt. It's really heavy. It's really cheap. It's nice filler for your quotas, so I'm pushing up a little bit. Like when you have a quota and you're trying to get to the end of it, and it's like, okay, so I need $433, for example, and I have 390 of, big expensive crap. I can just throw in 2 big bolts and I'm good. I'm probably going to be plus or minus 5, or I'm probably going to only be up to 5 over the limit, and I think that it'll be fine, right? I do think that that's an underappreciated part of certain items, and the big bolt. It's also kind of iconic, right? It's one of the most common items in Lethal Company. You'll find it even all the way up to Titan. I think the big bolt is fine. Bottles. I think bottles give a lot of opportunity for funny moments. Like, you know, I got my fucking beer! You know what I'm saying? I like the bottles. I like finding bottles. It's the best of the 3 mid-as-fuck large items that weigh like 19 pounds. And it's got funny moments, right? I think that you can make a lot of jokes about, you know, we're getting lit tonight, fellas. Fuck it, we ball. I like finding the bottles. It's a morale boost just as much as anything. And it's funny to make jokes like, for example, I think it was Astral Spiff. I think that's how you say his name. Who he found, like he called Apparatus Assurance the bottle hub of the world or something like that. Bottles are funny. I think bottles are cool. Candy, whatever. I don't really care. It's not even like I guess it's filler and it can have funny moments, but I've never had funny moments with candy. Cash register is nice. I think that it's something that if you find it, you're like, holy shit, because it's that rare item that you can find almost anywhere. It's got a lot of funds behind it if you do find it. It's very expensive and it is very heavy, which means that it's got a lot of risk reward to it. And if you haven't noticed already, the items that I really like either have good risk reward or are really funny, right? The clown horn and the bottles and the air horn have funny moments. The bees, the apparatus, and the cash register are risk reward. And I think that cash register is a little bit worse than the other two because there's no outright risk outside of just you move at a snail's pace. But there is a risk to that, right? You have to walk it back to the ship. Chemical jug you'll only find on Vow. It's another mid item. Like, you can make jokes about it, sure, but whatever. A coffee mug. I actually kind of don't like the coffee mug. Like, why does it weigh 5 pounds? If the air horn and the clown horn are weightless, why is this 5 pounds? It's a coffee mug. I don't like it. The masks are obviously going up in S tier. It's the masks, right? You haha funny, vomit on your friends, kill your friends. Haha funny. We all like the masks. And even if that's not what you're looking for, they still are decent mid-tier items, right? Hydrate or dihydrate. The masks are decent mid-tier items. They weigh 11 pounds. They could stand to be a little bit lighter. They average like something like 40 credits, which isn't a lot, but it's nice. It's a nice little bit. And they can go up to like 50 something. So it's a good item with that funny aspect of, oh haha, we're in the zombie apocalypse now. I'm gonna kind of do these 4 items. I'm gonna lump the tattered metal sheet in with these 4. I think this is just the cooler tattered metal sheet, right? Obviously, tattered metal sheet is the worst item in the game. I think this is... I'll get to it. Tattered metal sheet, obviously the worst item in Lethal Company. It fucking sucks. But it's got a charm to it, you know? Like, because it's so bad, it's like, you almost have to admire it just for being so bad. You almost feel bad for the tattered metal sheet. But it is just tattered metal sheet, cooler tattered metal sheet, because you can be like, cookies! You know, there's jokes. This one is the funnier tattered metal sheet, and it's more expensive, lighter, it's nice. As for these two, whatever, I don't really care. Fancy lamp. It's nice because it's expensive, but it bogs up the screen really fucking bad. It's kind of annoying. I'm not the biggest fan of the lamp. It's expensive as fuck, so that's good. But it's just not, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I would rather find it than a painting, I think. And if I'm ordering the tiers, right, I think Clown Horn is at the top there, bottles below that. I do like the lamp more than these three, I think. Maybe not the bell, because bell's one-handed, and two-handed items are just annoying to me because I do so much solo, and you can only carry so many two-handed items. But yeah, I think the big bolt is at the bottom of there. Tattered metal sheet, honestly, at the top. I don't like the mug. Honestly, I don't like the mug. I don't like the mug at all. It could just be because my mom hoards mugs practically. She's got like a cabinet full of mugs. We don't have room for cups, but I don't like mugs. The flask is my least favorite item. Why is it so heavy? It's one of the heaviest one-handed items in the game, and it's got one of the worst price to weight to price ratios out of anything in the game. It's down there with like the tattered metal sheet, right? And we all know the tattered metal sheet fucking sucks. Like, let me double check. How much does the flask weigh? I'm checking right now. It's 19 pounds with a minimum price of 16, an average of 30. Like, that's just so annoying to find. I would rather find almost any other item in the game than a flask. In fact, I think I would rather find every item than a flask. Why is it so heavy? If it was like 11 pounds, you know, like the masks, just like a worse mask, I'd be fine with it. But it's 19 pounds. Am I biased because it just got me killed to a turret like 30 minutes ago? Absolutely. But I hate the fucking flask. It's just too heavy. I never understood why the flask was so heavy. That's my main problem with it. The fact that it's so heavy and it's so kind of boring. Like, it doesn't have any charm to it. Like, if you could like jiggle it and there's liquid inside, maybe that'd be better. But it's just boring to me. The gift box is really nice. I do like the mechanic of having an item in an item. I think it's really cool. I think I like it more than the bottles. I think I don't really have actually that much more to say about it. It's the gift box, right? It's a really nice concept, executed really nicely. Not much else to say. Gold bar. I've actually only found a gold bar one time. It's like a worse version of the cash register, in my opinion, in terms of how fun it is, like how much I enjoy it. Because the cash register is two-handed, it's got the risk there. Gold bar, it's super heavy, it's super, super expensive, but it's only found on a couple of moons, and it's one-handed. And I know I just talked about earlier how I hate two-handed items. This is the exception, because when it's this expensive, I think there's a reason to warrant it being two-handed. Right? That's why I like the cash register. I like the balance of it being so expensive, but so heavy and two-handed. That's awesome. It has that extra functionality of if you left-click, you can jump scare yourself. Free horror game moment. And the gold bar doesn't have any charm like that. It's just like, holy shit, that's the gold bar. That's a lot of money. That's about it. There's so little charm to the gold bar, in my opinion. It's like a less charming version of the golden cup, the holy grail. Obviously, like, it's still awesome to find the gold bar because holy shit, that's a lot of money. But it's so rare and it's kind of boring. The gold cup is kind of the same way, but it's like, oh yeah, gold cup, cool. And it happens so much more often. It happens so often that you'll just find a gold cup. You'll be like, oh hey, that's really cool. I'm making sure I grab this. It's a good item. It's not really charming at all. Maybe I need to move. I think I'll move the hair horn up. I think I'll sandwich A tier with the honks. Because this is still funny, even if it's annoying funny. These are just kind of bland but good items. And I know it's also conductive, but something about the brass bell just strikes me the wrong way about how conductive it is. Hairbrush sucks. It's like just as bad as candy, maybe a little bit worse. Because at least candy's funny sometimes, like haha candy. There's a little bit of charm there. None of that with the hairbrush. Hairdryer. I like items with secondary effects, and it is the best scrap in the game. But is it fun? It's obviously nice because it's very light. I think it's only like 6 pounds. And it's very, very expensive with an average price somewhere around like 80. Let me check if I can. It's average price of 80, 60 to 100 with 7 pound weight. That is a really good item. It's just kind of mildly uninteresting. It does have the extra blowy feature, which, you know, haha, funny sometimes. But it's just a good item that you're happy to find. Homemade flashbang is fucking hilarious, though. I love finding the homemade flashbang. I always, in all of my Lethal Company videos that I do, I try to show a clip where I'm like, who used the flashbang? Until it gets to the point where I start using the flashbang because it's just funny to me. That's probably my favorite bit in Lethal Company in all of my videos, maybe even. Just the who used the flashbang. It's funny. It makes me laugh. It's a thing that makes me smile, and I appreciate that about the flashbang. And it's useful, right? You can use it against giants. I guess you could use it against like certain indoor enemies, like the Jester, the Bracken. What else? Thumper, I guess. Mostly, its usefulness comes in with the giant, but outside of that, it's a good item. Jar of Pickles is funny. My friends and I kind of worship the Jar of Pickles for the bit, and I do think it's an okay item. I'll always try to grab it, but it's just like the personal bias I have of we found pickles and somebody tries to sell the pickles and we all curse them out for it. I think the pickles are great. I like the pickles. For some reason I like finding the large axle more than the lamp. It might just be because the large axle, it's a little bit less obtrusive, it feels, and it is I think lighter than the lamp as well, which is funny because it is just a giant piece of metal compared to just a lamp. So it is funny that it would be lighter. It's 16 pounds compared to, let me double check, 16 to 21, so it's not a big difference. And it's less than half the price on average, but I just like finding the large axle just because it doesn't obscure my vision, and it doesn't weigh as much, and it's more common, so it's like, holy shit, that's the large axle. And there's some part of it that's just like, thank God I didn't find the V-type. And that's the thing with the large axle and the bottles that make them even better. It's like, when you find one, you're like, thank God that wasn't a large axle. Laser pointer is an item that has funny moments on occasion. I don't find those funny moments very often when I play. And it's very inconsistent with its price for me. Like, I found 2 30-something laser pointers in one quota the other day, and that kind of annoyed me. But then at the same time, I also found a 96 laser pointer in the same quota, so it's like that balances out. Like, holy shit, it's a maximum laser pointer almost. I think the laser pointer is one of the better items in the game for sure. Like, it's probably top 6 in terms of how good items can get, but it's just not the most interesting to me. Magic 7 ball, whatever. I have nothing to say about the Magic 7 ball. Same with the magnifying glass. It's just, I have nothing to say. Old phone kind of freaks me out when I grab it, right? Because it has the sound that's associated with it. But again, there's so little to talk about there. I do like finding paintings. I think I would rather find a painting than most items in the game. I don't think I like finding it more than a hairdryer. I don't think I like finding it more than a golden cup either. Or a laser pointer. I think I like finding it more than a gold bar though. I like the painting because it is big and cumbersome, and it's another high risk, high reward, but it's not as annoying as the lamp. Even though it's not as good as the lamp, It's just that the lamp fucks with you so hard with your vision. And the painting does kind of as well, just with how much screen space it takes up, but it's nowhere near as bad. Perfume bottle. You always love finding the perfume bottle. I'll put it right below the clown horn just to keep that tier sandwich because it's funnier to me. But I think the perfume bottle is just awesome just because it's no weight, big price, and you find it everywhere on the tier 3 moons. I love the perfume bottle. We all love the perfume bottle. It's the cooler hairdryer. Even though the hairdryer is better, we all love finding the perfume bottle. 0 weight scrap is always amazing. The pills. How do I feel about the pills? They can be funny, but I've never had funny moments. They're so cheap. I don't really care about them. It's just a nothing item in my brain, even though they're potentially very funny. I just don't have those funny moments happen to me very much. Plastic fish is cool. You find plastic fish a lot in the tier 1 moons, particularly Assurance and Experimentation. I think in Experimentation, it's awesome to find a plastic fish because you're like, fuck yeah! It's not a shitty 2-handed item, and it's not a steering wheel, and it's not a tattered metal sheet. Fuck yeah! And I think that boosts it a lot because, you know, when you're playing with friends and you're just playing casually, you want to mix it up, right? You don't want to go to Assurance or March the whole time. You want to go to Offense. You want to go to Experimentation. You want to go to Vow. And when you go to those moons, the plastic fish is a very consistent, like, yep, that was a good item. I think the dead body is fantastic in terms of game design. You have the ability to clutch up if you have enough to buy a shovel, but you have it at a cost of you're going to lose some money. The dead body is, I think, the best designed item in the game, but not quite my favorite. Definitely below. I think I'll put it above the homemade flashbang, actually. Yeah, because I think it's awesome in terms of game design. Red soda is cool, a little funny because of the price range. Another funny item coming up later, but I think it's always cool to find the red soda. It's got a pretty wide price range. It's kind of heavy. It's like the cooler laser pointer in my opinion because it's fucking soda. But I guess that's how much I like the item. So yeah, I like finding the red soda way more than I like finding the laser pointer because the laser pointer disappoints me much more often than the red soda does. Red soda, it feels never disappoints me, but I always get disappointed by the laser pointer until the one time I don't. Remote is also very funny. I think it's the least funny of these items, especially with new players. Just fucking with them from the ship, and especially if you have a walkie. Oh my god, if you have a walkie. Just being able to communicate to your ship person, being like, hey, how you doing? And they're like scared as shit because they're like, the lights are flickering, and you're like, oh god, that means you're haunted. Oh no, you gotta be careful out there. The Goose Girl's after you. I'm definitely a bad person for that, but it's funny. You have to admit that that's really fucking funny. I've done that quite a few times as well. Yeah, I think the remote is awesome. The fact that you can turn off the lights in the ship and turn them back on. Especially if you're with experienced players as well, and they have to figure out who the fuck has the remote. Usually they would know it's me because I'm a bitch, but they still have to figure it out. Wedding Ring is the cooler gold bar in my opinion. I think right there is good. It's about the same as the Golden Cup in my mind. I know they have way different stats. Like, I think the Wedding Ring is heavier but much more expensive. But ultimately, I don't really care. I think they're both, like, they're good. Like, if you find them, you're like, oh, yes, that's an expensive item. And I have no more thoughts. There are zero thoughts in my head other than these items are going to get me a lot of money. I think the robot toy is the better version of that. Because it mirrors, like, the cash register, not the bottles, the apparatus, and the beehive with high risk, high reward. It, as well as the teeth. I'll put the teeth up here as well. The robot toy makes noise. It's very heavy, but it's very expensive. So you want to bring it back to the ship as soon as possible when you find it. And it is actually found on Tier 1 and Tier 2 moons, right? You can find it on Assurance, you can find it on Offense, and I think you can find it on March, but it's very rare on March. Mostly I find it, when I find the robot toy, it's either on Assurance or obviously Titan, because I play a lot of solo. I think it's a great item in terms of game design. And the teeth is the same way, just a little bit less so, because when you drop it, it has the noise still. And I don't think you can... I think you can do the same put down pick up trick that you can with the robot toy. Yeah, I think they're both good. They're expensive, which makes me happy. They have high risk, high reward, which makes me happy. And the teeth are light, while the robot is heavy. Risk, reward, emphasized there. And that all makes me happy. Rubber Ducky is the best design item in the game. I don't fucking care. It can be as low as 2 and as high as 100. And that's all it needs to do. It's right. Like, it's so fucking funny. Like, if you just find a rubber ducky with a messed up face that costs like $6, you're still laughing. It sucks, but you're laughing. Meanwhile, if you find one that's like a messed up face and it's like $80, then you're popping the fuck off because this ugly little duckling just saved your run. And it's so funny. It's especially great because it's weightless. If it weighed like 5 pounds, it would be much lower, in my opinion. But the fact that it's weightless makes it even better, in my opinion. Because all it is just that variance. And it's so funny for that fact. Shotgun is probably also one of the best design items in the game. You have the risk of 1v1ing a Nutcracker, one of the most dangerous monsters in Lethal Company. But then you also have to actually maintain it by killing more Nutcrackers. But it becomes much easier to continue to kill Nutcrackers when you have one shotgun. And you can go on this fucking massacre. You can kill Brackens with it really easily. You can go for dogs if you need to. Which I wouldn't because that means more giants. What else? If you need it for a loot bug, you can kill loot bug with it. Thumpers as well, spiders as well. It makes the game much easier without making it trivial in a very smart way. The high risk, high reward that I keep talking about is amazing with a double barrel. Steering wheel is just like these guys, whatever, fuck it, who cares? Sometimes it's funny because you can be like, meow, meow, fucking pretending you're driving, but it's kind of bland. I think having weapons inside of the facility is an awesome idea. And I think Zeekerss fulfilled that very well. I think the yield sign being much heavier. Honestly, the yield sign would be higher than the stop sign in my opinion if it was 36 pounds, even 38 pounds. Just why is it 42? It's like the most heavy single-handed item in the game that isn't a gold bar, I think. It's definitely up there. Like it's heavier than most two-handed items as well. Like it's comparable to the apparatus, which is ridiculous for a one-handed item. But it's cool because it's not just like another stop sign. Like it actually has a balanced philosophy behind it, being I am the shitty stop sign, and I think that's funny. But I also think having weapons in the facility is awesome. Tea kettle is worse than the brass bell because it can be cheaper. Toothpaste is the less cool plastic fish because it replaces cooler items. Toy cube is also the less cool plastic fish because the plastic fish is based, and the toy cube is cringe. V-type engine is the worst two-handed item to find. And finally, the whoopee cushion. Haha farts. It's funny. It's the fucking whoopee cushion. You step on it and it farts. What more do you want from me? It's the haha funny fart joke. Like, come the fuck on. Who doesn't think that's a little funny?